Hi everyone, welcome to our Passion series. Today we are here with somebody that is very near and dear and special to my heart and has been, luckily, for many, many years. I won't say how long. I'll leave it at that. Her name is Amy Doty.
Hello.
Amy is a true serial entrepreneur because she's not just running one business, she's running 3 businesses. But they do all align and they're all within the same genre. So today I'm gonna let Amy tell us a little bit about what she does. Hi, Amy.
Hi.
My sis, how are you?
I know, my sis.
I'm so glad you're here. I'm so happy and so comfortable that you're here. It's great. Tell us a little bit about MUAH, Amy's A-List, and anything else that you want to share.
Thank you so much. So, yeah, I do run a lot of businesses. They are all aligned and they all kind of stemmed off of each other. It started with MUAH, Makeup and Hair, by Amy Doty, and that started a little over 10 years ago, actually almost 11 years ago now. Wow, I'm getting old. And it was really happened by fluke. I needed to figure out ways to make extra money so that my kids could attend day school. And I had friends that were in the wedding industry and they needed help. And so I said, I can help. And they trained me to assist them. And after a few gigs, I was like, gosh, I'm really good at this and I could make a whole lot more money if I was doing it myself. And so I just decided to go for it. And the rest where that's concerned is history. And then from there, by fluke again, somebody called me about 6 years ago and said, my son's having a bar mitzvah and his theme is Air Jordan and I want to have a Dennis Rodman tribute booth.
Oh, wow.
And so could you put streaks in the girls' hair because there's lots of girls coming? And I was like, well, Dennis Rodman tribute booth, why don't I spray designs into the boys' hair? So I did, made all these stencils and I was spraying designs in the boys' hair, streaking the girls' hair, and the party planner came up to me and said, do you think you could make that glow? And my answer was yes. My answer is always yes. When someone says, do you think you can do this? I say yes, and then I figure out how the hell I'm gonna do it. And so I did. And so for the first year of my next business, which was Amy's A-List, I was just doing glow parties. I was doing black light face and body painting, black light hair designs. And I was going to all these parties and I saw all these other activities, people doing tattoos and doing various things. And I thought, well, I can do that. So I invested in some tattoo equipment. I started doing tattoos and then people started coming to me and finding out how I could make their party different. And that's where really that business was born for me, was just through coming up with fun themes for people, fun things that would go along with their theme that I could do to make their party different from every other party. And then each of those things has just kind of added to my list, thus Amy's A-List. And so I started doing that as well.
I love that about you, and it is what is the most special about you, because it really is true. You are a yes person. You're a positive person. You're a happy, spread the happiness kind of person, and anybody that's around you like literally picks up your energy. But I think that's such a powerful lesson, which is sometimes following the yes, and you figure out how to do it later, right. But has there been some struggle along the way, or has it just kind of naturally, the yeses worked out?
So, yes, there has been struggle.
The struggle is real.
The struggle is real. You know, I always try to balance everything, and I'm not a good balancer when it comes to me. So that's probably where the struggle comes in. My poor kids have learned how to raise themselves in a lot of ways, which I think has turned out well for them. They're very mature, they're very self-sufficient, they're very resilient.
They're amazing, both of them.
Thank you,
yeah.
Thank you, I love them.
Yeah.
But I think that's been my biggest struggle, is figuring out how I'm gonna balance a little bit of me into all of the other pieces. The yes part is fun for me. That part, that challenge, figuring out how I'm gonna do it, and then looking at like back when I did my very first glow party that I talked about earlier, when I look back at the very first one and how I used to do it versus the work that we put out now, I chuckle because it was good, but it's great now.
Yeah.
And that's really what I'm all about. Like for me, it's like, look, anybody can do these activities at parties. What can I do to make it different? Mm-hmm. Same thing with the hair and makeup. Like there are lots of very talented hair and makeup artists out there. What am I gonna do to be different, enhance the life of the person whose face I'm touching that day? That's more what it's about for me. So yeah, there have been struggles figuring out how I'm gonna make those yeses happen are a struggle, but they're more of a win than a struggle for me because I always figure it out. And it is funny to look back on it and figure out like the little steps I took to getting there.
To figuring it out.
Funny.
I remember when we were younger, and I distinctly remember, like, you know, I used to grab your hands and I just, like, I needed to touch them all the time. And that was not, like, I didn't do that with anybody else. But you had the softest hands. And it's funny too, because I was talking to John about this, where I've sat in your chair, or what is it called?
The chair, the bed, depending if I'm giving a facial or makeover, but yeah.
When you've given me a facial, and I'm not a big facial person unless it's you, and I've thought to myself, it's so interesting because like, I remember I picked up on those hands when we were so young. I mean, what, 10 years old? I mean, such a young girl, but you said that like, you had this interest, and it's an interest that I don't believe everybody would have, but I almost feel like you were born with special hands.
Oh.
I really do, I mean it. And every time I get a facial, I really think that. But what is your thought about like the way that we're born and, you know, how it kind of fits into what our eventual career is? Like, do you believe in that, or is it by happenstance? You know, what are your thoughts there?
I think I'm split. I believe both. And I have to say that like, I did always make sure I sat next to you in carpool because you would play with my hands, and I liked the way that, you know, I also like the way it feels when people touch me.
So funny.
And for me with the facials, which I really didn't even get into that piece of what I do. So I went back to school, or I went to school 5 years ago now to get my license and be an esthetician, and that was really all about energy for me. And the energy goes through my hands, and it's really interesting because I became interested in that long ago when I got my first facial. And I was laying in the bed, and I thought to myself, with the person, the way that they were manipulating my face, I was like, gosh, if I was on the other side of this bed, I would be giving so much more to the person that's laying down. Not that she did a bad job, but I could see myself in that moment, and I was young at the time, and I could see myself in that moment being on the other side. Did I ever think I would be doing it? Hell no. No, I never thought that that's what I would be doing. My life has taken so many turns. But I do that when somebody is in the bed and I'm even just applying their cleanser. It's all about the energy that I'm transferring to that person that's laying down in front of me. And I have this painting up on the wall that Jay, my sweetheart, painted for me. And it's a Buddha. And it's funny because it brings me some serenity when I look at it. And I will look at it when I'm massaging and when I'm manipulating. I will look at it, and I will, especially if I'm not feeling it, because you don't feel it every day. Like, you know what I mean? Like you do the best you can every day, but you're not always feeling it. And when I'm not feeling it, I look at that and I just like pull from the energy, and it's almost like his energy, because it's the energy he put into painting that painting. And so I pull that energy and I transfer it to the person in the bed. So there is something about my hands, but I never really knew it was there.
Well, I did.
Thank you. I love that you did. It felt good.
I must be so special because I knew.
You did know.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions because you talked about your children being very resilient. And I actually believe that they learned that from you. Because I want to say that you're probably one of the most resilient people that I know.
Thank you.
You do things with grace, you do things with a smile. I don't think life's always been easy for you. You have a lot of stress that you somehow manage. Tell me about, like, were you just born resilient, or is that something you work on?
So I think that everybody has their stuff. And we all have our good memories and we have our challenges. And for me, that started as a kid. I had a good life as a kid, but I had a lot of challenges as a kid. And I was the oldest of four. And And I had to figure a lot of stuff out. And my parents also instilled a lot of that in us. Like we were, at a very young age, both my parents were working. I had to figure out how I was going to get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
I played basketball in high school. I had to figure out, in a lot of cases, how I was going to get to and from games, how I was going to get to BBYO, like how I was going to do what I wanted to do. I had to figure that out. I had to watch my siblings. I drove carpool at 16 years old. That was allowed back then. That's how old I am. So I feel like I was forced to be resilient, and I liked that piece of my childhood. I liked that I had to learn how to fend for myself in a lot of ways.
Yeah, your parents, you know, albeit nobody's perfect, I love your parents. They're like, you know, second parents to me. But your parents were amazing examples, and thank goodness that I had a part of that in that house, of honestly instilling some rules, some boundaries, some expectations. Not everybody had that, but you guys had that, and you know what? You all ended up really special.
Yeah,
so they did a really good job.
Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Do you have like a business tip that you would like to share? Because you really have learned how to operate a business. Businesses.
So I think that for me, number one, try not to spread yourself too thin. Don't take on more than you can handle. So I am learning the art of saying no. I'm learning the art of saying I'm already booked up as much as I can be that day, because in order to do what I do well, I have to make sure that I can give myself to the people that have booked me.
Yeah.
So I think that that's one thing. And then the other thing I would say is that when you have something really important, ask for help. Put the important things in the hands of other people too. Like I had my makeup done today. I'm a makeup artist. I did not do my own makeup. So I think that when it comes down to like the really important stuff, you have to entrust it to the professionals, and you have to trust their profession.
Yeah.
Like for me, sometimes people look at themselves in the mirror, and I want them to feel like a better version of themselves, but sometimes they feel like, oh, there's so much under my eyes when they're looking in the mirror, and I'm like, no one is going to be that close to you where they see those lines under your eyes, but what they're going to see are your eyes nice and bright, and we're doing this for your photos. So You have to trust your fate in the hands of professionals. Like go with your gut. When something doesn't feel right, it's not right, but you have to trust the professionals to do their job.
I couldn't agree more. And I do think that's hard to learn, but you cannot be an expert in everything, and you don't want to be. You have to be an expert and be great where you're great. So that's a great tip.
Thank you.
So obviously, you are passion personified and zesty and everything passion oriented. What are you the most passionate about?
People. People. My clients, my staff, my kids. My kids and my family are like, everything I do for my family. But I'm passionate about all people that I come in touch with. It's all about them.
Well, they're very lucky to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want you to look into the camera and let everybody know how they can reach you and find out more about what you offer.
My website is www.muahstudios.com, Muah Makeup and Hair, so MUAH. And I'm very, very accessible through there. You can call me. 214-707-7849. I'm really good by phone and text, and I just really look forward to impacting the lives of others in whatever I do. Everything that I do is focused on people, making you feel better about yourself, making your guests feel better at their event or at your event. I'm great at that.
She's just great in general, and I have had the great fortune of being raised near her and knowing her on a different level. But when it comes to makeup and hair, as well as facials, which I am not somebody that loves facials, I have learned to love them because she is amazing at what she does. And the parties that she puts on are second to none. I really, really highly recommend you have to reach out to Amy for any of those needs, and you get the pleasure of being around somebody that's super special otherwise too.
Thank you. I think you're special
Thank you for being here.
Thank
I love
you for having me. I love you too.